Firstly, before I get into my opinions, this video isn't propaganda to become invested or leave your current endeavors. These are just realistic things that I have researched and some small things I know about running a healthy business. So, NFTs. They're a big thing right now. We have a lot of people looking at them highly and praising them for what they can do, but a lot of people shaming them and abandoning the artists that believe in them because of what they seem to stand for. NFTs have definitely become a very important subject on the internet, so I figured I could come on here, drop some facts, and then deliver my personal opinion. Firstly, let me explain what NFTs are. NFT stands for non-fungible token. A fungible object is something that can be exchanged with a copy of itself and keep the same value. Money is fungible. If I give someone my $1 bill and then they give me theirs, I still have $1. A non-fungible item doesn't work like that. It has its own specific value indicated solely by rarity and the fear of missing out, or FOMO. The way this business works is you register your token, which can be a piece of art or music, through a blockchain system, which is essentially like giving your token a digital identity and artist signature. People see it and invest in limited tokens, and then later on, when they resell it, the artist can get paid each time the token is resold. When it's explained like this, it sounds really beneficial, and it has been for many people. But I want some of you hardcore haters and hardcore investors to realize that it isn't that simple. So I'm part of both the music and art community, and have seen and heard some of the things around NFTs. Some things I'm more impressed with than others. I'm going to start with music NFTs. Music NFTs are interesting. There are some concepts I like. Full quality remixes, I like. Full VIP mixes, I like. Sample packs, pretty good idea. 3D and 4D audio, well, I know there are a lot of people interested in this concept. 4D audio was a fad around 2016 to 2018, I want to say, where people took popular songs and ran them through a fancy panning machine. Panning is when you take the audio and move it from headphone to headphone in interesting ways to make it seem like the sound is moving around you or behind a wall or underwater or something. At the time, it was an interesting concept, but the fad died pretty quickly. I certainly don't hear anyone talking about it anymore. I think the issue I have with it is that it can seem really lazy in some instances. Now, that being said, I know people who do partake in this, and I can tell they put real effort into their mixes. They are from the ground up quality mixes that have been run through this panning technique for a specific purpose. They make good money too. There is some legitimate application for these music NFTs, like using specific mixes for video games or something like that, but I would personally never have a use for making 3D or 4D audio. I won't produce something I'd never use myself. That being said, I'm looking at remix NFTs, VIP NFTs, and sample pack NFTs with a little bit higher regards generally, but there are reasons I'm personally not going to get invested in, which I'll go over later. The big one that most people are concerned about are art NFTs. Alright, let me start off easy. To their credit, making characters or scenery with slight alterations like changing clothes, poses, or the time of day is really cool. As an artist, I know that just making small changes like that can take hours depending on your skill level and the amount of detail. So when I see an artist go above and beyond to make these changes, I applaud them. That's talent. That's hard work. But that's about 3% of NFT artists. Since the inception of this idea and its surge on the internet, specifically Twitter, artists have been doing the absolute minimum to make these things unique. An NFT has been essentially stripped down to copy, paste, add, remove, in a process that takes about half an hour to do at the most with some of these. This utter lack of detailed changes gets pointed out all the damn time, but constantly people choose not to make more worthwhile changes. Additionally, digital art NFTs can easily be stolen. Considering how they work, you can simply search for it online, then save the image to your computer or phone without wasting a single red cent. Oh, but NFT artists know this. Here's where I gotta point out the blind haters. NFT people know that you can just copy and save the pictures. They don't care about that. They care about what's on the blockchain. And this is where the conversation really gets interesting, but I've gotta finish talking about art NFTs first. See, because digital art is so easy to access, there won't be people willing to buy the originals because so many have simply just downloaded the art for free. And because the pixels don't change every time the artwork is downloaded, the person who just right-clicked the image has the same image as the person who bought it off of the blockchain. Let me give you a scenario. 3 people purchased NFTs, the last 3 that the artist was giving away. They're happy with it. Now, 10 years later, they don't want it anymore and decide to cash it in for some money by selling it. Enter the 3 people that downloaded it for free.
Hey, I've got this really authentic art that I bought a few years ago. It's by Gamma Centauri.
Oh, cool. Let me see. Wait, I already have that.
Oh, you bought the NFTs too?
Bought the NFTs? No, are you crazy? I just downloaded them for free.
I mean, but it's authentic.
They look the same. I've already used these for what I want them for. Why would I want to purchase them?
To support the artist.
I already buy his music and go to his festivals. I do enough supporting.
But I need money. And I see your friends have downloaded it too. I can't sell it to them.
Well, tough luck. The value and want for these products have dropped significantly, and a lot of people who are into this business seem to not realize that this is exactly what happens when artificial rarity folds on itself, which NFTs have started to. Now, for those who are against NFTs, I want you guys to understand that you don't have to leave the artist outright for participating. Times are hard because of COVID and everything, and people are just trying to make some money right now. For those who are hardcore invested in NFTs, I need you guys to understand that when you buy, it's unlikely that you will sell these things in a decade's time and get a huge return or even break even. You have stepped into a realm that is more risky than the stock market. Now, on to people's issues with the blockchain. The blockchain is essentially a server that hosts all of the NFTs registered to it, almost like a licensing label. Sort of. NFTs themselves are much too large to put onto the blockchain. Rather, it's essentially the artist's digital signature that's registered through the blockchain, as well as the transaction information. The blockchain has several fundamental issues, one of which is plaguing the internet now, that being its carbon footprint. Now, yes, before you guys yell at me in the comments, NFTs don't produce nearly as much carbon as driving a car. I understand. Let me rebuttal that with this. You can drive a car to get to work, and that produces carbon. You can drive a car and get to work, and then you can buy an NFT on top of that, and that produces more carbon. Yes, small, but there are no benefits in that field. You can't refute that. It's concrete until we get a carbon neutral alternative. While I personally think this is a pretty weak argument, it still is a valid argument that you have to respect, since registering an NFT on a blockchain is mandatory for it to be, well, a digital NFT. And it's not like 1 or 2 people are buying NFTs. I may have made it sound like there is absolutely nobody investing, which isn't true. There are a lot of people on board with this, which kind of hurts more because more investors means more carbon releases, but more investment also means more incentive to make more NFTs. You see how this can compound? Like, sure, it'll never be as bad as the automobile industry or factories producing carbon. But it's not like they're reducing their carbon footprint all the time. Not everyone has the ability to plant a tree every time someone buys their NFTs. Additionally, if you're comparing your shady business practice with even more shady business practices, that does not make your contribution in your shady business practice any less effective or any better. I want to reiterate, the actual role of a piece of art or an artist in specifically affecting the environment is kinda complex. The bigger problem is with how blockchains operate, not necessarily with the artists themselves, though it still is an issue worth mentioning. No artist is intentionally making NFTs just to screw over the world. It's just how it is right now, unfortunately. While I may not like NFTs like that, I think it's worse to drag someone through the mud for trying it once or twice, or using it as their main source of income. That being said, the issue still stands. Most people won't be willing to opt in unless we find a carbon neutral alternative, and to my knowledge, there are currently none. My argument lies with the blockchain's inefficiency. If the purpose is to give the pieces an identity, I feel as though it should protect the art registered in it more. Like, there should be something in place to stop simple internet theft, some distortion or something. Either way, having art made like this, slight alteration or not, is a cause for concern for these reasons and many more on the internet. And the numbers don't lie. The majority of the internet hates them. No amount of tweeting "educate yourself" is going to make people read about the real information on NFTs. Misinformation is hard to hammer out of people's heads. It's not that simple. These people will unfollow you and bring their friends with them. That's how most people function. NFTs are currently one of the only legal business practices that I've noticed that can actively result in loss of a following. As an artist, this is detrimental, and I'm surprised most musicians and artists in the field don't see this. Like, sure, you can make a few NFTs and gain crypto bros in your following, but you have a massive, and I do mean massive, opportunity to lose hundreds of followers for doing so, and friends. And understand that not all NFT investors want to be your fans. They're interested in getting that money later on. Now, some are fans, don't get me wrong, but not necessarily all of them. When your following is 70% business partners and 30% patrons, something is clearly wrong. And honestly, engaging in a business practice that a majority of your fan base doesn't like is a bad business practice. Again, these numbers don't lie. Most people hate them for one reason or another. It's a very tone-deaf way of conducting business when 60 to 80% of your fan base says, "I'ma pull out if you go this route." It's very telling of how much integrity you actually have when you do the one thing that Nintendo, for example, fails to do for their audience, and that's to listen. These numbers talk, not these numbers. And sure, money is important, but if you've got nobody to support you besides your 30 NFT homies, then what? You can't always rely on a small section of people. But I think the biggest argument and my personal biggest problem with NFTs is with its inclusion in the digital market at all. No matter how secure you try to make it, digital art will always just be downloaded. It's easy, and because the system is ineffective, anyone can get away with it. NFTs would make a lot more sense if they were physical tokens, because a tangible item is actually non-fungible. Let me give you an example. There's this artist, Beeple. Maybe you've heard of him, maybe not. But when NFTs started, he became one of its highest ambassadors. But not for just looking and investing, but as an actual artist who wants to deliver people quality art. How is he different? He just makes digital art too, right? He just invests in NFTs. Yes, but in addition to having the digital art and a few paragraphs on his website about him as a creator and each piece of art, his NFTs are legitimate physical pieces of art that you can actually use.
So this is a box as a way to display the NFTs. Okay. Something that people get with the NFTs as sort of like a way to passively enjoy the like digital artwork in your like household in a way that kind of wasn't possible before. So we put together this thing through a bunch of different vendors. Oh, wow. That is like a thing, and it's got a bunch of weird stuff in there. It's got a hair sample.
Yeah.
Some of this
hair
stuff,
sample? Hair sample?
Yeah, read the like thing in there, dude.
It comes with a cleaning cloth and like.
Yeah. So here's the pieces. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a weird guy, but honestly, this is a smart business decision. Going above and beyond to make an actual physical piece when you invest is a way to incentivize people to buy without shoving it down people's throats. Additionally, regardless of if he explodes as an artist, this kind of decision will make money. If not for the art, then for the materials. And the images move. It even has a signed titanium backplate. Yeah, it might be expensive to make one of these things, but as an artist, you have to be willing to put that much extra effort into something you believe will be really profitable in the future. It's a legitimate novelty that, even though I don't really like NFTs, can see some value in, and is, in my opinion, the only decent way to do NFTs at the moment. For musicians, you also have outlets. Vinyl records. Yes, vinyl records produce a lot of toxic shit into the environment as well, but if you really limit your endeavors, their footprint is once and never again, while constant digital investment's footprint is little, but it is continuous. Personally, I think NFTs are a decent idea, but with a bad overall execution. It's safe to say people won't be too invested in them for a long time. I'm not going to go into any other reasons why you should or shouldn't invest. I don't care enough to recommend any, and I don't care enough to get into them myself. I know people who are into it, I know people who despise it, and both kinds of people have valid arguments. So, my final thoughts, should you or shouldn't you? That's completely up to you, honestly. I think if you are going to buy a piece that you are going to be happy with in 20, 30 years time, and you really want to directly support an artist who is creating NFTs, go ahead and do it. But I wouldn't say expect to get all of that money back if you think in the future you're just going to use it to get some cash out of it. It's not going to work like that. I would say right now I wouldn't be interested. They have so much potential if we explore the physical prints that Beeple employs, but beyond that, in the digital medium, they hold no weight. Maybe in the future when everything becomes digital, maybe my opinion will change. But I would caution everyone to look or listen for quality, especially now with these bullshit NFTs coming out. Like, seriously, we have an Etika and a Jesus NFT. If you don't know who Etika is, he was an online personality who committed suicide a few years ago based on internet harassment, and Jesus, of course, died defending his religious beliefs. This kind of goes to show that a few bad apples can ruin the whole barrel, regardless of if you know who Etika was or if you are religious. You can't deny that this kind of move is just insensitive. If I ever buy an NFT, I'm buying something physical that can sit in my room, something with quality and effort. And if I ever make NFTs, I'm going to hold these same principles. Only invest if it's something you know you're going to like or use, but otherwise, you could do so much better currently. NFTs might make a surge in the future, but with future technology and a cleaner blockchain. At least that's what I hope. I believe that there is a lot of potential in the ideas and upcoming technology surrounding NFTs and the blockchain as a whole, but the definite risk of losing a stable following because of simply becoming involved is absolutely not worth the risk for me. I do have faith that eventually when the tech is right and the intentions are a bit more pure overall, the system will become a lot more accessible and worth your time and money. But as it stands, this is simply too risky from an artist standpoint and an investor standpoint. This is non-negotiable for me, even if there is good money in it. Money wells can only last so long, and when it dries up, it dries up. That's just my take. Hey, if you want a much better edited video and a completely unbiased perspective, I would suggest looking at the video by MrWhoseTheBoss on NFTs. It can give you a full perspective and an entire scope about the entire NFT space, and it allows you to make up your own decisions with no bias. Go check it out. I'll link it here.